All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. We are closing out August 31st, 2023. Want to just jump on today because I had some time just to really give you guys an opportunity to ask me some questions, sort of like, I guess, maybe like a Q&A session more than anything. But of course, if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're aboard for the season because that's when the value of this channel really comes into play with all the instant injury updates, the live stream throughout the course of the week, breaking news, all that other stuff. So make sure you're a subscriber and also have that notification bell because like today, a random last minute live stream, you would have been notified when we went live under such a scenario. So for today, a couple of things. Wanted to discuss some news of the day, like always. Specifically Jeff Wilson being injured for the Miami Dolphins, and now Raheem Mostert going to probably be a bell cow starter, at least for the beginning of the season. Also wanted to share with you guys my all sleeper team, non-rookie edition, because, pretty much all rookies are sleepers. So I wanted to just look beyond that and come up with a sleeper list that does not involve the rookies, because it's very easy to just say, oh, okay, Zach Charbonnet, Tank Bigsby, they're sleepers. Well, of course they're sleepers, because if they become starters, if Kenneth Walker or Travis Etienne get injured in front of them, then yes, they're going to be valuable commodities and would fit the definition of an impact sleeper. I'm going to go a little bit deeper than that today in discussing guys who are not rookies but could still wind up being sleepers, low-cost help to your fantasy football rosters this season. The Jonathan Taylor thing, really nothing new has come out about that. No doubt just a massive, massive fiasco that, even a couple of days later, I still can't understand that actually happened. But yeah, here we are with that. So anybody who owns Jonathan Taylor, basically it feels like he's suffered a serious injury and he's going to miss a month of games. And you're hoping that it's just a month. You're hoping that there'll be some kind of a deal completed after those 4 weeks on the PUP are exhausted by Taylor. The Colts have to realize that they just can't go on through the rest of the season with this gigantic distraction as they're trying to break in a rookie quarterback in Anthony Richardson. So it'll be interesting to see what happens after those 4 weeks are up. And let's face it, there's going to be a team out there who's going to lose their starting running back. Let's say, for example, if the Giants lose Saquon Barkley, or the Los Angeles Chargers lose Austin Eckler, then they logically would probably come to the Colts and be like, listen, we have playoff aspirations. We need a running back. Certainly if the 49ers were to lose Christian McCaffrey, considering his injury history, not a major stretch to say the least, I can see the 49ers coming after Jonathan Taylor. So, again, this is something we have to revisit in 4 weeks. Again, amazing that it even went this far, but that's the situation we're in now. As other running back news today, so it looks like Raheem Mostert is going to get the start for the Miami Dolphins and probably dominate carries right out of the gate there because of Jeff Wilson being injured. It looks like he's going to need a couple of weeks to recover from multiple injuries. They're going to be playing the Los Angeles Chargers in the opener, and then they have the New England Patriots in week 2. So Raheem Mostert, who generally averaged about 10 to 12 fantasy points a game last season, before and after Jeff Wilson arrived in Miami, he would be the guy to get. Listen, we all know the story about Raheem Mostert, just can't ever stay healthy. Although last season he actually did when nobody expected it. Maybe him and Christian McCaffrey discovered something together to finally figure out how to stay healthy last season, but he did. But now expecting him to be healthy for a second year in a row is a stretch. He's past the age of 30, which is old for running back, but he does not have the wear and tear on him that other backs his age have because he's missed so much time. We all know about the home run speed. That Mostert does have that. He caught the ball fairly well last year, which was not part of his game previously. So listen, if you're hurting at running back, if you just lost Jonathan Taylor, then Mostert would be somebody that you could add and try to, hold the fort and, for now until something else presents itself. So Mostert, he was probably not drafted everywhere, but he should be owned now. If you were to draft Taylor, what's the latest round you couldn't pass him up? I wouldn't draft him anywhere. And that, I was very firm with that all summer, even before this issue. But I mean, listen, if he's there in like the 8th round, then you got to think about taking him under the assumption that the Colts are finally going to cut bait on him after those 4 weeks are up. But, considering we all thought there was no way he was going to start the season on PUP, and it happened, you can't assume anything with this situation with the Indianapolis Colts and Jonathan Taylor. I mean, it's really just that pathetic all the way around that this was allowed to get to that point. So, I get, eighth round, I guess would probably be my answer to that question. So, and also guys, don't forget during the course of the season, if you have any questions, always just post it, either here in the chat or on the message board, the community board of the channel. And I always get back to you as quickly as I can, or under the content. So happy Friday. You're a day early, Justin. Finished my 14 team half PPR draft last night for the office. Trevor Lawrence, CMC, Gibbs, Olave, Pickens, Waller, and Dobbins for the start. Hey, listen, that sounds like a good team to me. Your running backs look good. Olave, your wide receivers, I guess you only start 2 wideouts. I like Olave. You all know that. Pickens, I'm not as big a fan of Pickens as others are. I do love Waller. I double own him. Lawrence is great. Dobbins, I think he'll be okay. So not a bad start there. And I don't know. I'm with everybody else. I just want the season to get started already. I mean, let's go. I'm tired of waiting. It seems like it's been taking forever to get to this point. Want to get some games going. Just can't wait for all that. Just checking the news. Let's see if Devin Arshane of Miami could return sooner than later from his shoulder injury. I don't think he's going to be there week 1. I don't think Terry McLaurin is going to play week 1 for the Washington Commanders. So if you own stock in Jahan Dotson, you definitely want to get him out there in week 1. The big unknown still is whether Sam Howell could be the quarterback there consistently, pilot this offense. But Dotson, at least early on, is going to have, at least for the first week. And listen, he was neck and neck with Terry McLaurin in production last season when, the second half of the year at least. Better nose for the end zone. McLaurin has not exactly lit the world on fire scoring touchdowns throughout the course of his career. And I do like McLaurin. Would love to see him, what he could do on a team like the Buffalo Bills, or the Kansas City Chiefs, anybody with a fairly competent quarterback. Obviously he hasn't had that. So, but I do like Jahan Dotson as well. I think that the Commanders, if Howell can prove to be up to the task, they have some weapons. You have Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson, decent pair there. And then you have, of course, the wideouts, a solid tight end as well, Logan Thomas. So, there's some weapons here, and I still think that in a single quarterback league, even in a super flex, Howell has some intriguing upside. Any rookie wide receiver like Addison would you consider? Yeah, Zay Flowers. I do like Zay Flowers. I think it might be a little slow go initially. He's got Mark Andrews ahead of him, Odell Beckham ahead of him, Rashad Bateman ahead of him. Nelson Aguilar. They brought in a lot of guys. So. But I do like Zay Flowers. They're going to use him on jet sweeps. They're going to get him out in space. It hasn't exactly been a productive summer for this new Ravens offense. They're working out the kinks under Todd Monken. I think ultimately everything will be fine. May take him a couple of games to get everybody on the same page. It's a new offense after all. But I do like the potential of this offense and what it could do, especially what it could do for Lamar Jackson and his numbers. All right, so the all-sleeper team. Now, I thought about this the other day, and, the one parameter is no rookies. I don't want any rookies on an all-sleeper team because, like I said at the beginning of the show, all rookies are sleepers. I mean, let's face it. We don't know exactly what they're going to do. A lot of them are going to start out as backups who could ascend to a starting role at some point and then really take off. So that is the definition of a sleeper. So I wanted to take that aspect out of it. So, going through each of the positions, Sam Howell at quarterback is a sleeper. There's no doubt about it because he can run. He was very productive in North Carolina as a junior, as a senior, bombed because basically everybody graduated around him offensively along the offensive line. Lost both his running backs. He had Javonte Williams and Michael Carter junior year, and then they both defected to the NFL. De'Ami Brown as well, the offensive line. So, but again, this is a guy who ran for over 800 yards one season in college, Sam Howell. So, I think he absolutely is a sleeper. Do you want to call Deshaun Watson a sleeper? I don't think so. His name brand, and he's still being drafted in the top 10, so I don't think you could call him a sleeper. I think Jordan Love is a sleeper. He's looked good this preseason. He can move a little bit. He's got a very, very strong arm. He can make all the throws. I would qualify Jordan Love definitely as a sleeper. And then Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's another one who's played well this summer. And he, too, like Sam Howell, he could run. All right? Pickett can move. He can pick up yards on the ground. And in fantasy football, we all know that these dual threat quarterbacks are the cheat code, to really put your team on another level. I think we're moving well past those days of Matt Ryan, Tony Romo, Detroit Lion, Matthew Stafford, hell, even Tom Brady, Jared Goff right now. The stationary quarterbacks who don't run are being left behind by the dual threat guys in terms of fantasy football production. All right. Now, at running back, so James Cook definitely is a sleeper, all right? But he's being drafted aggressively, so it's hard to call him your classic sleeper because he's getting drafted fairly high. We can't use rookies. I think DeAndre Swift getting a fresh start in Philadelphia. They didn't trade for Jonathan Taylor. They didn't sign, Dalvin Cook or Kareem Hunt or whatnot. So I think that DeAndre Swift has good bounce back potential. So, and the Dolphins just signed Darrynton Evans, the Titans' former third-round pick. So that tells you that Jeff Wilson could be out for at least a couple of weeks. Brian Robinson Jr., his second year, he caught passes in college. I know he wasn't asked to do much of that with Antonio Gibson around last season, but I think Brian Robinson definitely is the sleeper. Solid guy who's going to get a lot of carries. Well, he's a rookie. I almost said Roscoe Johnson, but he's a rookie. Listen, Elijah Mitchell, definitely a sleeper because we know Christian McCaffrey can't stay healthy, and neither can Mitchell for that matter. I mean, let's be fair. But if he ever becomes a starter, like a Jaylen Warren, who's another sleeper, they could literally run with the job and put up some, fairly intriguing numbers. All right, at wide receiver, Michael Thomas remains a sleeper. He was productive in the few games he got into last year. He scored 3 times. He's 30. He's getting up there at receiver, but he's still that's not exactly old. It's getting up there, but all the time that he's missed, his body should be a lot fresher than somebody like a Keenan Allen or a Mike Evans who's in that same age bracket. So Michael Thomas, if he could ever just even carve out 10 games, he could be a solid sleeper. Marquise Brown, I know they're tearing it down to the studs, but when Kyler Murray comes back, Marquise Brown's going to get a lot of targets. Jahan Dotson, we talked about him as a second-year guy. He's a solid sleeper. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be the main guy in New England. I know it's not a high-volume passing attack, but he's in line. Nico Collins, I like Nico Collins a lot as a sleeper. C.J. Stroud has a strong arm. He can make all the throws. He's very accurate, and he's going to have to throw to somebody. Can't just be Dalton Schultz. So Nico Collins to me is somebody who has good sleeper potential there. All right, tight end. Dalton Schultz is a sleeper. There's no doubt about it. All right, Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill. Hold on one second. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill and his off-field issues. There will be no action taken by the league. So I didn't expect there to be, but he got caught up in a fight, assault, whatever you want to call it. So there's going to be no discipline for Tyreek Hill, who, he's had a checkered past, no doubt about it. Anybody who owns Tyreek Hill, there's not going to be any issue there in terms of any suspension. Like I said, I think Dalton Schultz could be a sleeper because, there's other than Nico Collins, there's really nobody for C.J. Stroud to throw to. Juwan Johnson caught a lot of passes, 7 touchdown passes last season. He was a force around the red zone. I think he could be a guy. Hayden Hurst is a solid sleeper because in Carolina, you have an aging Adam Thielen. You have a shaky offensive line, so they're going to have to throw short. Bryce Young is very accurate. Rookie quarterbacks at a tight end. I think that's somebody who definitely is a sleeper, a solid one at that. Chikozia Okonkwo, a sleeper for the Tennessee Titans. Everybody's kind of been in on that one as well. He's somebody else that I would potentially look at. If you're interested in finding a tight end sleeper, and really, there's no reason to own 2 tight ends. You could leave both, Juwan Johnson and Hayden Hurst on the waiver wire, and then just come back to them if you need it, because I don't think it's a good allocation of, unless you're in a very deep league, to put a tight end, on your bench. Open an individual defensive player position in my league. So do you happen to have any insight on top 5? Yeah, the individual defensive players, I'm not a big fan of that, but the top 5 generally, are Max Crosby, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett, Joey Bosa, Michael Parsons, and Brian Burns. Those are usually the top guys there. TJ Watt is probably the number 1 pick because he's just so disruptive with all the sacks and the turnovers that he causes. Michael Parsons as well. As a Giant fan, we missed getting Michael Parsons by one spot in the draft. So he's just an unbelievable player, and the Giants are playing Dallas on the opener for the opener this season. So that would be my answer there. I don't like the individual defensive players. I guess call me traditional, although I'm really not traditional because I've done away with the kicker and defense in my leagues. And I suggest you guys do the same as well, at least with the kicker, because the kicker to me has no relevancy in fantasy football. You could have the best kicker in the NFL and your team's, he's kicking all extra points, like Harrison Butker. I brought that example up many times. And then you can get somebody whose team bogs down in the red zone. He kicks a lot of field goals, gets a lot of points, but he's probably not even a top 15 kicker. He's just getting a lot of opportunities to kick field goals and get those extra points. Those additional points, I should say, instead of kicking just extra points. So, that's why I think you should just do away with the kicker once and for all. So anyway, tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow's Football Friday. So, September 1st already. Unbelievable. So I'm going to be live tomorrow. Not sure what time. I'm going to take a look at the lines tomorrow for the first, week 1 games. I'm going to add some picks this year. Hadn't done that in a couple of years, but I'm going to, a lot of people always ask me about that, who are my picks for the week and whatnot. So I'm going to look at that tomorrow. I'm probably going to wait a few more days to give you my actual official picks, but I'll take a look at the lines. I already gave you guys my over-unders a couple of days ago. Of course, any news of the day tomorrow. And really, we're in a holding pattern now. We're just waiting for the season to start. There's only like three or four practices to go for these teams to dodge any, God forbid, potential injury. And like I said, this summer, it's been fairly benign. Other than Jerry Jeudy, we really didn't see major names go down for an extended period of time. I know Joe Burrow with the calf, but it looks like he's going to be ready to go week 1. Even Jeudy himself was not placed on the PUP list, so that means the Broncos do expect him to be back at some point. We've had some disastrous injury situations over the years, over the summer. Luckily we didn't have that this year. I mean, hell, Saquon Barkley hasn't taken a preseason snap in 4 years. Aaron Rodgers took his first preseason snap since 2018. The coaches are just not putting these guys out there, and that's fine by me. We all want to draft as close to the season as possible, but I think the threat of losing guys has been lessened. If you do have your draft a little bit earlier, maybe after the first or second preseason game, I don't think it's the risky move as that it was, a number of years ago. So, but anyway, guys, just a short stream today. Just wanted to check in on you guys, see how everybody's doing. I'm going to be back tomorrow for Football Friday. Might have a guest tomorrow, so make sure you tune in. And until then, just keep posting your comments under the videos, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great day, everybody. We will chat soon.